So hi, this is Mary Kurek, and I'm a member of St. Francis by the Sea at Salter Path, North Carolina. And we're doing a whole series of interviews, just little short video interviews with members of our congregation so that you get a chance to get to know them, and hopefully we'll get to know you when you become a member, if you do, and we hope you will. So today I have Dale Elks, and Dale, I have not had the privilege of meeting you in person like I have some of the others.
Okay.
We just kind of float in and out sometimes. We're just in that kind of a touristy sort of environment down here. So I'm glad I had a chance to get to know you via video interview. So tell me a little bit about, well, first of all, how long you've been a member at St. Francis.
I joined St. Francis January a year ago.
So what brought you to the area? Because you were just telling me right before we went on record that you're from Eastern North Carolina, but
Yes.
Are you from Kurek County, North Carolina?
Well, I did spend some time in Kurek County in my high school years. However, kind of going back, I never went to school in Kurek County because I went to an Episcopal boarding school in Philadelphia.
Nice. Okay. Didn't know there was such a thing. That's interesting to me.
Oh, yeah. And
you're grinning, so that must have been an experience.
Yes, it was a great experience. And I'd like to share that with you. Kind of how I got to, I call it my road to St. Francis.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask next. So go ahead,
Okay.
Share.
So I was born in 1956 in Greenville, North Carolina. My mom and dad, Robert and Mary Elks, both of whom were baptized at Trinity Chocowinity and confirmed at Trinity Chocowinity and married at Trinity Chocowinity.
That's hard to say 3 times.
As were my maternal and paternal grandparents, were also members of Trinity Chocowinity, which is about 3 miles south of Washington. My maternal grandfather grew up in the early 1900s and went to what was at the time Trinity School, which was a parochial private school that was supported by Trinity Church in the early 1900s. So anyway, so my roots start at Trinity Chocowinity. In the fall of 56, I was baptized by my uncle, who was his John or Jack Taylor, as he was called. He was my uncle. He's also the father of Carol Taylor, who was a youth director at Camp Trinity for many years and worked with our own Penn Perry. In fact, she introduced Penn to Heather and convinced Penn that he needed to kind of get up a little gumption and maybe ask her out a little bit.
Connect them up. A matchmaker. I love it.
Anyway, so in the early 60s, Trinity Chocowinity shared a rector. At the time, the church wasn't large enough to have its own rector, and we shared a rector with St. Paul's, Vanceboro, North Carolina. And at the time, there was our priest was a guy named Jim Alvis, whose son, Robert Alvis, is actually a rector at St. John's Episcopal in Fayetteville now. The dots are just being connected.
Yeah, you're gonna get all over the map of North Carolina here.
Yes, so in the mid-60s, I had the good fortune of going to Camp Leach, the predecessor to Camp Trinity. Mm-hmm. And yes, I learned how to swim there. We had a great time playing all kinds of sports, roasting marshmallows by campfires, singing songs. And I remember they had a camp hall at Camp Leach. And after dinner, everybody would go into the camp hall where there was a jukebox. They'd feed some quarters in it. And it was mostly 50s and 60s Shaggy music, okay? With the Tams, the Drifters.
Oh, yeah.
All that kind of stuff. And all the boys lined up on one side and sat on the bench. And all the girls lined up on another side. And it took the counselors, the guy counselors and the girl counselors, to kind of get people off the benches and onto the dance floor. So I had my first dance, my first shagging lesson at Camp Leach, North Carolina, with the first girl ever danced with. Um, so anyway, at the age of 12, I had this idea. I was in Boy Scouts, and in scouting, you get Boys Life magazine. And the back of Boys Life magazine is all these advertisements for private schools, military schools. Um, so I got this bright idea that maybe I wanted to go to military school. Um, and my mother told me that there was absolutely no way that we could afford anything like that. And she relayed that information. My mother was the music director at Trinity Chalkawinity for like 40 years. So anyway, she relayed that information to Jim Alvis, who was the rector at the time. And he said, I think I've got a solution. She said, what do you mean? He said, well, I had the fortune to go to this place called the Church Farm School, which is 30 miles west of Philadelphia. And it was started by an Episcopal priest from Philadelphia for boys to get a college preparatory education that was affordable. So all these wealthy Philadelphia Episcopalians basically donated 2,000 acres of property and all these unbelievable homes to the school so he could start this all boys school in I think it was 1910, 1911. So anyway, to make a long story short, I went up there, I was interviewed, and I was accepted. So I went in 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. I was one of 175 students. My graduating class had 15 students in it. So typically my classroom size was one of about 10 to 12 people in the class. You couldn't get lost in there. And
wow, that's like private. That is private education. That's awesome.
The cost was $300 a year,
Whoa.
room, board, and tuition. Today, the school has the largest endowment per capita of any private school in the country. So even today, based on financial need, but the typical student pays about $3,500 a year to go and get this one-on-one education. It's unbelievable. So after Church Farm School, I came back to North Carolina, went to Chowan University, met my wife, Kathy. And in 1976, we moved to Newbern, which was our home and where we raised family and our two boys. And I began my estate planning practice in 76. And in 2000, I was elected district governor for Rotary International, which kind of took me down another path of, working with other civic-minded volunteer organizations. In fact, in 2005, I was convinced by an older man in Oriental who didn't have the stamina to do it, to see it through, but he had connections. And he told me, he said, Dale, if you will go call on these two people in Chacala, Mexico, which is about an hour north of Puerto Vallarta. This is a little village down a dirt path. They need a medical clinic. And I think we can get them to help with the horsepower, if you will, to get it going, to build it down there, but they need money. And so I raised money throughout Eastern North Carolina and got a matching grant for $40,000 from Rotary International. And we built a medical and a dental clinic so that the kids down there, instead of having tooth extractions, get a tooth filling. And So they got a place to get a vaccination instead of going without, everything from polio to, you name it. So that's my Rotary experience. I had a great experience there. And in 2002, Kathy and I were in a good position to buy a place at Summer Winds at Salter Path. And so we just kept that as our weekend place, if you will. We hardly ever spent more than 3 or 4 nights there. We'd come back to New Bern. But so anyway, after the hurricane, we got a beautiful home in New Bern, and we were fortunate enough to rent it out. And I told Kathy, I said, how many bedrooms do we really need? So we have 3 in Salter Path and 2 baths, and we've got 4 in New Bern and 3 baths. And I got another place over in Hyde County that's my kind of hunting place. I said, I think we kind of need to consolidate things a little bit. Yeah. So I kept my practice in New Bern. I come to New Bern 3 to 4 times a week. Typically, I'm working 1 or more days with my clients in Beaufort and Morehead City. And the other days, it's virtual, or I'm back in New Bern or Raleigh or wherever the clients are. So since October 1st, which will be 2 years ago, we made Salter Path, Indian Beach, our home. And I said, we were members of Christ Church here in New Bern, which is a huge congregation and very formal, which is nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's kind of the church I grew up, even in Trinity Chalkawinity. But I tested the waters and I said, this is a neat daggum place. St. Francis by the Sea. I can wear a shirt like this or a polo shirt.
Flip-flops. Whatever.
Anybody that comes with a coat and tie, they're visitors.
True. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my story. That's my road to St. Francis.
So it fit so the first time you visited St. Francis, it was a fit for you. You knew it then.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I did too. It was really, and I had shopped around for churches. I was looking. I was raised Methodist, so Episcopalian was very kind of foreign to me. And I tell people, and I probably anybody who'd listened to me, I met Reverend Everett at a yoga class. And that was kind of the connecting point that drew me there. And just sitting in that gorgeous place upstairs and just seeing, I don't know, there was just an aura about it. I mean, it's felt
welcoming.
So right.
Yeah, very it's so welcoming the way it's designed, rather than the typical church that is in the form of a cross that you just see the back of people's heads. Here you kind of, everybody's, yeah. And I will say that the music at St. Francis is over the top.
It is phenomenal. I mean, we've always had great music, and Linda did a fabulous job, and now Craig coming in. Each person has each music director has their own style about it. And Craig's just sort of pouring his heart and soul, right now into the music. And honestly, I'd put that choir up against just about any choir around here. They're just incredible. And even when we do the video services now, when you listen to just even the few voices that you're allowed to have,
yes.
there, Craig does an amazing job of putting that all together. And just I will write comments that, wow, the music is coming across so well. It's just wonderful. So, we're blessed at least that we can do the video services and continue doing that. But we hope that we can all get back together again at some point.
Yeah.
Everett almost cries about it, about every time he writes. I can almost feel that there's tears coming. But and so maybe I'll get a chance to see you then in person when we all get back together again.
Let's hope so.
But until then, I hope everybody heard this wonderful story of things that I did not even know existed, out there in the world of Trinity. So, I'm not sure how you escaped being a minister yourself with all of that background, but
I don't have that.
You had another path.
I don't have that cut of cloth.
Okay, gotcha.
But I had a wonderful experience. At the time, we went to chapel 3 times a week, and I was going, do we really have to do this 3 times a week?
Yeah.
And
Well, see how you turned out. See, there you go. God had a different plan for you, but
that's right.
this is awesome.
That's right.
You're being a testimonial right now for all of this. But what a wonderful gift you were given back when you were younger with that education. That's just amazing. Wish I had known about that with my kids. But terrific. So thank you, Dale, for
Thank you,
this
Mary.
time with us. And I hope everybody will, check out what you've shared and listen to your cool story about how you got here. So we're glad you are here and hope to meet you someday. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Bye,
Appreciate it.
Mary.
Bye-bye.
Bye.